Waiting. And there we go. We are now live, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you again for joining us here at the Liberty First Foundation Weekly Roundtable. I am one of your hosts, Frank Johnson. To my right on the screen, which is that direction, is co-founder Michael Marshall. Below Michael Marshall is Peter D. Soma. And to the left, Michael Vasquez, the dragon of the Southern Tier, New York's only truly independent news agent. So, everybody, welcome to the show tonight. Thank you all for joining us. And man, it's been a hell of a week this week. Hell of a week. Not so much in the news, but for things we're doing. And as I'm sure I wasn't able to make it to the show last week because I was in the middle of conducting a couple of meetings. But Michael informed everybody last week of the new venture that we're taking on, that we have the privilege and honor of taking on. And Michael, why don't you give us a quick recap from last week as to what it is we're doing and why?
Well, last week, I was approached, or actually received a phone call, requesting that the Liberty First Foundation submit a 2-page spread to be included in the commemorative publication for the opening of the National Medal of Honor Museum. Essentially, what they want us to talk about the Second Amendment and the rights that were protected by these heroes that were awarded the Medal of Honor. And your Medal of Honor winners, everybody looks at them as these bigger than life people, but honestly, these are regular everyday people. And in this spread, I'm going to be showcasing several of their stories and the fact that they were everyday people. And my hopes is to inspire people that read that to actually get involved and understand that you don't have to be chosen. You choose yourself. You make history. History doesn't make you. You make history. So that's kind of what it's all about, and that's what the goal of the piece is going to be, is to show that people from everyday walks of life can be historical.
Well, like you said, the recipients of these awards, people say that they won the award. It's not a contest. It's not something that you won. It's not the lottery. Receiving a CMH is probably something that most people in the service would probably never want because of the tremendous sacrifice that it takes to be considered to be the recipient of one of these things. So majority of the people who've won these, who have been awarded this medal, gave their lives in the pursuit of freedom and in the defense of freedom. Well, they gave a tremendous amount of themselves through horrible injury, life-threatening. I mean, men coming back with limbs missing, huge parts of them left on foreign soil, blood in somebody else's dirt. It's not something that they aspired to, but it was a challenge that ordinary men rose to meet under extraordinary circumstances to do something that most people would run from. And every one of us is equipped with a flight or fight mechanism. These men not only chose to fight, but they chose to run towards the danger. And that's something that is, circumstances don't create character, it reveals it. So while these men may have gone in as the ordinary person, they, by their actions, prove to be extraordinary people. And what they've done are things that you cannot imagine the hellacious sacrifice that they had to make to endure the kind of pain that they had to endure to save the lives of others, preserve the cause of freedom. That blue ribbon and that gold medal that they wear around their neck is a little known fact. A private who wears a CMH around his neck, if confronted by a 4-star general, the general must salute him first,
Yes.
because that general has not earned the distinction or honor that that private did. So that just goes to tell you how it is.
Even the Commandant of the Marine Corps is required to salute Medal of Honor winners. The Commander of the Navy or the Admiral of the Navy is required to salute. Okay, these are the top guys in each of the branches. If they are not themselves Medal of Honor winners, they are required to salute any Medal of Honor winner that crosses their path.
Yeah, so like I say, it is. I've had the privilege of meeting and shaking the hands of quite a few of these people who were awarded that medal, and there's an aura that surrounds these people, that if you have an ounce of patriotism anywhere in your soul, just being in the presence of that medal, being in the presence of the person wearing that medal, is enough to move a grown man to tears, because the level of testicular fortitude that these men have displayed, it's awe-inspiring. Mm-hmm. And for us to be able to write an article for the inaugural publication for the Congressional of Honor Museum is just one step below the civilian equivalent of that. Because it's tremendous for us, because the amount of respect that we have to put into that article is commensurate with the amount of respect earned by the people who've been awarded that medal. And for us to have the privilege to do that is in and of itself a tremendous honor that, we can't really even, as hard as to say we're writing an article, but it's hard to put the honor into words. It really is. So we do the best we can.
Guys,
and
go ahead, Fast.
I just wanted to throw in for people who have no concept of this, and there's some people in the country and maybe around the world, they have no concept of what any of this is. And I was thinking about it, and it came to me. NCIS is a very popular show. I'm talking about the original NCIS. And a lot of people have seen it. And there's one episode, I forget what season it is, but it actually had a Congressional Medal winner coming in, the character, who was actually a World War II veteran. Charles Duntz, I think his name was, who came in with a 1911 45, his service revolver from Vietnam. And he was a little confused as he walked into the NCIS Naval Security Building. And he was saying he had killed somebody. Now, as the story went on, we learned the history of how he got his Congressional Medal. That he was on the front lines, actually got surrounded by the enemy, and was fighting all day and all night. The last man of his unit, the only man left standing and alive, fighting at the last moment with his 1911 that went dry, and fighting hand to hand, which is, in fact, somewhat of an amalgamation of several stories of true events that happened in Vietnam, that have happened in many wars. And one of the things that people don't understand, yeah, it's a TV show, but I want you to understand, they took care to be very careful to portray the patriotism, the dedication, the actual ultimate sacrifice, and what it cost that man to go through that experience. And they did this delicately and accurately to convey that emotion and the respect that that man was given, walking in with his Congressional Medal and a 45 out in the open brandished, and nobody stopped that man. They came up and deferred to him. They slowed down and stopped. And that's something that would actually happen in real life. They would reasonably try to defer to him, to understand what is going on, to be kind and gentle with this person. There is such an elevation. And I have to, for normal people who have never been in the military, don't have family in the military, who only see Hollywood examples of what the military is, this is perhaps the one thing I can point to that will give them some concept of what these men have historically given for our nation, the kind of respect that is due to them, and the experiences that they have gone through. And I don't say it to diminish anyone, but that is perhaps the entryway for the common person who has no idea, the 20-year-old, the 18-year-old kid who has no concept other than what he sees in Hollywood today, which demonizes actual sacrifice for our nation. Watch that one episode and then look it up and look at what these men did in real life, which is even more extreme and more of dedication and sacrifice. Perhaps that would give some people a taste of how much is due, the respect that is due these men, and why it is an honor to be connected to them in any small way. Does
Well,
that make sense?
Now, the
Yeah,
episode
and
that you're talking about, the gentleman that was on
Charles
that.
Durning.
Okay.
Charles Durning. That's what it was.
Right. Was awarded the Medal of Honor for his actions on Iwo Jima.
Was it Iwo Jima?
And what was so it was Iwo Jima.
Okay.
What was so troubling to him was the fact that he ended up essentially, in order to protect his life and life of others in his unit, he ended up having to kill his best friend there in the sands of Iwo Jima. And he was actually turning himself in for that murder.
Yes.
And he had no choice. And his friend was dying already. But he had no choice. If he would have let his friend live, he would have given away their position and there would have been a lot more casualties. But he did also continue on after that, fighting tooth and nail on the sands of Iwo Jima, and to the point where he is fighting hand to hand against these against the Japanese, and that's what ultimately awarded him the Medal of Honor. But
and that was
the sacrifice.
was,
The sacrifice and the actions that he took in order to earn that medal destroyed him. And I mean, through the rest of his life, he was haunted by the visions and the actions that he ended up taking that day. And I'm sure that he's not the only story with tales like that of people that had won the Medal of Honor. Also want to make, we keep saying men that won the Medal of Honor.
There's women too.
There is a woman that has also won the Medal of Honor. Her name was Mary Edwards Walker, and she was referred to as Dr. Mary Walker. She was a prisoner of war and a surgeon, and is the only woman to have received the Medal of Honor.
well, forgive us for, omitting that. It's kind of, in a way it's good, and in a way it's bad. In a way it's bad is that we feel like we don't recognize her for her accomplishment, but it's also good in the regard that we haven't had to expect, women to make the kind of sacrifices up until now because they haven't been part of frontline, combat troops. In the future, there's going to be a lot more women that will have made that sacrifice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, I believe that a few for actions during the Gulf War, during the Iraqi Freedom War, and during Afghanistan that have been put up for it. I don't think any have been awarded it, but I know several have been put up for it.
Now,
by the way,
speaking about So you were
Dr. Mary
speaking about the
Walker
episode.
won.
You were speaking about that
What was that?
episode. You said Charles Durning.
Yes.
He played
Yeah.
a little known fact. He may have played a role of being somebody who was at Iwo Jima. And maybe part of the reason why Charles Durning played that role so convincingly is that because after being drafted into World War II, he was among the first wave of men that landed at Normandy. And although he survived the initial onslaught, 2 days later, he was severely wounded by a German mine. He was also awarded the Purple Heart and Silver Star. So Charles Durning probably had some relation.
Yeah, he had 2 Purple Hearts, a Silver Star, and a Bronze Star.
Yeah, so Charles Durning, so he went into that role already knowing that the character he was portraying, he already understood certain sacrifices. Yeah, so that came from a place of experience. So Charles Durning, may rest in peace, he earned it as well.
Yeah.
All right, now listen.
Now, the woman that was awarded the Medal of Honor, she was awarded it. She died in February 21st, 1919. I'm trying to find out exactly when she was awarded the medal.
Whose phone keeps doing that? I keep looking for my phones to see what I didn't turn off.
Yeah, I just turned mine off. So
yeah, it's not mine because I put mine into do not disturb.
All right. Listen, while you're reading that and everything else, let's
She's
hear from
actually a
Jeremy.
civilian when she received it. As received during the Civil War. She was removed from the Medal of Honor roll in 1917. And then it was restored in 1977.
Cool.
I can't find the exact date of when she was awarded it, though.
All right. Well, we'll dig it up. We'll figure it out. In the meantime, Jeremy Bishop, do you hear us? Jeremy Bishop, Earthship to Jeremy Bishop. Yeah, Jeremy,
I believe he's frozen. He looks frozen to me.
Yeah, I think, he's in the private chat saying he's got a little bit of an issue with his computer this evening. So, in the meantime, Peter, who's the ITMF WGSD, is always in the comment section, always in the chat room, always saying hello from afar. Now he joins us on screen for
thank you, gentlemen.
This is your second visit to the show. So welcome again, Peter. How is everything going in the lovely state of Pennsylvania?
Cold, but otherwise good. Thank you again, gentlemen, for inviting me this evening. It's good to finally be a part of this. I'm tired of commenting in the little boxes online, and I think I'm the only one that sees it. And so it is good to be here. Thank you for the invite.
Well,
and I'm going to keep you honest. So,
good.
The problem with the comment section is that the service that we use to do the broadcast accumulates all the comments from every single channel that we're on. So sometimes you may be, seeing a comment, or we may be responding to a comment. Someone else might be watching from a different platform. They have no idea what the comment was that we're responding to, because unless you're all on one of the YouTube channels or one of the Facebook pages, because we're broadcasting on, I think, 5 different platforms this evening. So sometimes the comments kind of go a little crazy because nobody knows who's saying what, because we have to identify it. And sometimes we'll only see, like, if it's a Facebook page, if they didn't sign on, it'll just call them Facebook user. And then we have to, by methodology. Yeah, we have to figure out just who it was who made the comment. Oh, there's Mr. Bishop, and apparently on his mobile device this evening.
Yep. Yeah, apparently my computer doesn't want to work at all, so I was going to step in for a little bit while it does a reset. I was going to say from the beginning, I've only got about 20 minutes, but got about 10 now. Something came up, but I did want to stop in and, like I said, I was going to say hello, and I wanted to make sure I kept my word.
Well, thank you for joining us. It's been such a long time. We know that you've been dealing with a lot of work-related issues and a lot of changes and a lot of things that have been moving around for you. So we haven't really tried to push the issue with you. But now that you're here for a limited engagement, how the hell are you? And what's new in the Bishop world?
And I'm doing good. Things are good. Wife and family are good. Obviously, we're trying to stop some of the nonsense coming down from the ATF and hoping they can quit messing around with some of these rulings and nonsense like the pistol brace stuff. Still waiting for my suppressor. It's 13 months now, waiting for my tax stamp. But
13 months. It's supposed to be a maximum 8-month turnaround for that. But, oh, God.
Yep.
Well, ATF is still using COVID as an excuse, the same way a lot of the anti-gun sheriffs are pertaining to pistol permits. Yeah.
Well, I remember when we first got into the, we jumped on pretty hard on the constitutional compliance, and my local commissioners refused to talk to me about it. And every time, no matter what I wanted to say, it was, oh, COVID, we're too busy. And that went on for a solid year and a half until I went and knocked on their door and left like 400 envelopes at their doorstep with local residents' complaints. But even then, they're like, yeah, we'll get back to you on it. COVID's more important.
Yeah, well, any excuse they can use to, slow down their own roll.
Yep.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, it's not like they're doing themselves any service, because right now we've got record numbers of people submitting forms to the ATF. There are more record people submitting their permit applications. So all that they're doing is slowing their crap down for today. They're just creating a backlog for themselves later that then they'll turn around and they'll say, oh, well, we were defunded, so we have less people to do the work.
Well, and then there's going to be this magical computer crash, and all those applications are going to disappear. Oh, sorry, got to start over.
Yeah, well, if the illegal gun registry happens to disappear with that computer crash, then that'll be something to celebrate.
Yeah.
No, that'll get accidentally leaked first.
Oh, yeah, they already
It's
did
already
that
out there.
I know.
Couple
There will
of
be a leak.
Facebook user says Peter looks like Grizzly Adams.
Yeah.
Grizzly Adams had a beard. Grizzly Adams did have a beard.
Yes.
I love Grizzly Adams.
Grizzly Adams had a beard.
I know. I was just quoting the Adam Sandler movie when he's a golfer, Happy Gilmore.
Oh. Haven't seen that in a long time.
But I guess my laptop has decided it doesn't want to play anymore.
And by the way, don't you ever besmirch Dan Haggerty.
Dan Haggerty's a good guy.
The one and only Grizzly Adams. Yeah, Peter may look like Grizzly Adams, but I think he could fit in Dan Haggerty's pocket. Dan Haggerty's a big person.
Yeah, I'm pushing 150 soaking wet.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Dan Haggerty. I'm not a small guy, but Dan Haggerty would eclipse me. he was a big guy.
He was almost as big as the bear. He was almost as big as General Ben.
Yeah.
I know kids today are looking at this going,
Yeah.
Who? What's a General Ben? It's like, it's a great show.
Yeah, well, they also think Little House on the Prairie is a destination.
Yeah.
They don't know any better. All right, so getting back to ATF, we know that Utah's got a couple things going. I know there's a couple of things going out in Utah about the pistol brace ruling. Do you have any updates on any of that stuff for us, Jeremy?
Not enough, unfortunately. Like I said, I would just really the last couple of days step back into what's going on and trying to play catch up and still and trying to figure out some other stuff. And now we're getting a lot of local hate and backlash over this Utah version of the Don't Say Gay bill. And so.
Which doesn't even mention, Florida didn't even mention gay.
Right.
That was never in the bill. Is that the same thing with Utah? Not even in the bill?
Well, essentially, it has nothing to do with saying the word or the word at all. It has to do with not teaching and not teaching about it in school, not talking about it in school until kids are of an age where they have an understanding and a concept of what it actually means and can actually make decisions for themselves. It's basically just stopping talking about gender identity, all that stuff until high school, I think it is. That's what the bill's about. It has nothing to do with saying the word gay or anything like that.
Well, it makes
Well,
sense.
you saw what the teachers unions did in Florida.
Yeah.
They sent people into the school libraries and cleaned out every single book in there, saying, "Oh, look what the governor did," and that wasn't what they did. They did some political stunt, but the true nature of the bill doesn't get discussed on the news. The reactionary forces to these bills is what gets discussed on the news, and as we all know, messaging is 90% of the battle. If it's not live fire, it's messaging, and they're winning the messaging war. With a lot of this stuff, there's not enough people out there that are
honestly, it doesn't
cover it.
And it doesn't matter if that messaging is true or not.
Oh, it's absolutely meant to not
too many people
be true.
don't take the time to actually do any research on their own. They just take everything as fact. Everything they hear, everything out of politicians' mouth or that they hear on news media, they believe that it's 100% accurate and truthful. And they don't look at everything else that's involved. They don't look at the entirety of the story more often than not.
No, you can't expect to get told the truth in a minute and a half on something that takes at least 3 minutes to even describe. When you have a law that's 20 pages long and you're trying to sum it up in 30 seconds or one sentence, you're never going to get the truth or the full answer. You're never going to get context.
No.
And they don't want that. They want to say, here's a headline on Twitter, believe that. Anyone who doesn't agree with that, they're evil, they're bad, they're unpatriotic. We have to attack you. That's why they use MAGA instead of Make America Great, because you can't argue with Make America Great. But MAGA, well, who knows what that means? And they can attack that instead. It is insane. And we see so many ways this is applied, like in this case.
Well, people read the clickbait.
Well, it's the exact same thing we talked about in the past time and time again about the, Save the Children bill or whatever it is. And it really has nothing to do with kids. It has to do with gun control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Peter, you were saying.
I was just saying that the problem is too many people read the clickbait and they take the clickbait as fact.
Yeah. Just because it's popular. Just because it's popular, it must be true. No.
They're trying to they're trying to blame this derailment in Ohio on Trump. And the
he was driving
of braking.
But
Trump was driving the train.
And first off, it wasn't the brakes that caused the derailment, it was a bearing. Secondly,
it was the wheel.
That train wouldn't have been required to have the enhanced braking systems that they're trying to talk about because it was not a petroleum train.
No, here's the thing that gets me, Mike. One thing, Mike, I don't care how the train derailed. Why is it the story is we're trying to talk about how it derailed rather than Trump showed up when Biden went overseas and ignored it. Trump showed up with food and supplies for the people, and they want to say, well, Pete Buttigieg showed up after the fact, after weeks of being correctly demonized for ignoring the people and throwing them under a bus, as we have vinyl chloride, which is a carcinogen that affects children especially, and the CDC is changing, literally, I've looked it up. They literally, 6 days after the accident, changed the CDC toxicology report, public report, on the impact of vinyl chloride as they're putting it into the air. They want to talk about everything else. Oh, Pete Buttigieg's doing a great job. This is fantastic. Biden doesn't have to be here. They're trying to give us every reason why government doesn't have to take care of the people, and doing the wrong thing is somehow beneficial. Meanwhile, the people who are actually doing something, who are reporting the truth, letting you know about the cover-up, they're evil and how bad they are. And people are sucking it up and going, yeah, that's great. I can't understand this. It's so aggravating to me.
Well, you want to know? You want to know what's
another
really
thing
aggravating?
is they're trying to twist Trump going to Ohio with food, water, and supplies as a campaign stunt, and that the water was Trump branded water that he made a profit off of, and blah 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 blah.
Well, listen, the thing that's really pissing me off about that whole thing about, let's blame Trump for this thing. Does anybody remember the term shovel-ready jobs?
Yep. Obama.
Yeah, right.
2010.
Yeah, that was the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act of 2009. We spent $800 billion. That was they said it was $800 billion when they were going to, spend it. It turned out to be, was it 2.1 trillion that actually got spent on it? And it was going to create these millions and millions of shovel-ready jobs. The two major things that were not technology-based improvements that the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act was supposed to revitalize American roads and the American rail system.
Didn't happen.
So all of the money that they're saying Trump didn't spend, or Trump did something else with, was already earmarked and spent in that bill to make the improvements that weren't made. But because the federal government likes to say that something is done when it's not, how many of these? I mean, we just saw a picture that made it all over Instagram and Twitter yesterday of a railroad trestle going over a river somewhere in Illinois, and the two sections of girder that hold up the railroad tracks on a crumbling concrete pillar are being held together by a length of Home Depot bought chain and a master lock. That's what's holding our trains, our rail system together. But we spent over $2 trillion to fix all that shit in 2009, and it wasn't done. And what did Obama have to say about it? Well, I guess those shovel-ready jobs weren't so shovel-ready.
Well, and what are we doing now with the Infrastructure Act?
The same damn thing.
Exactly.
Well, let's not forget about, what was it, Vass? I don't know, 10 or so years ago when the Air Force was trying to finish off their budget, so they spent $1,500 on each coffee mug.
Yes. The waste is absolutely ludicrous. We waste more money than literally half the countries in the world have a GDP. Literally, we waste more money than most countries' GDP in a year. And it's ridiculous when they come out to us and they tell us, and we get this all the time. Here's the promise. We promise. And they never bring it out. I was just having an interview in the UK. I was being interviewed, and I was mentioning to them, and same thing that they're seeing in their country as well, taken from the US. There's always a carrot in front of us. You're always promised. Last year, 2022, everyone remember, we saw, and I'm just pointing at this, we've seen it from both sides, but Democrats promised that they needed to change the abortion laws. You need to have an abortion up to the moment of birth. And they said, we can't pass this, even though they controlled the House, the Senate, and the presidency. They couldn't pass that until after the 2022 election. They wanted to change college debt, wanted to eliminate that. And even though they controlled the House, the Senate, and the presidency, they couldn't put a bill in to do that until after the election. Okay, they lost the election. They still had control. In December 1st, they had control of the House, the Senate, and the presidency. At any point, they could have come in and passed any law they wanted to. and had made this a fact, a law, if they thought it was important. And
Well-
they still haven't done it. Why? Because it's not about fulfilling the promise. It's about having control. And the carrot that's always in front of you to get that extra vote, to maintain that control, is whatever they think will work.
Well, think about it. The policies that they want to pass are only popular with a minority of people, but the minority of people that it's popular with are enough that the people who don't care about those issues are going to vote for that party anyway. But when you add that minority of people that care about those issues, it's just enough to push them over the finish line. However, they know damned well that if they actually fulfilled those promises, that group of people that really doesn't care, whether it doesn't poll as being cared, they're going to find out how quickly they don't like those ideas. So if they pass those pieces of legislation and turn them into law, they lose the next election. But if they promise to work on it and promise to pass it and they don't, they know that the promise is worth more than actually doing it, because it's something
And
they
they
could
can blame
always
the other
have.
party for obstructing it.
as obstructionists. So look, it's all a game. Now, do they want to pass these things? Absolutely, they want to pass these things, but they know damn well that if they do, that's the death nail in their coffin. They're not going to pass it if it means that they're going to throw away their political aspirations on it, because their promises to the people are worth less than their political aspirations are. They don't give a damn about what the people want, even if they agree with it, because once they're out of a job, they're out of a job. They want that power. They want to retain that position. So they'll just keep making the promises and breaking it, knowing that if they pass it, they're going to be ostracized for doing it. But if they fail, they're going to be cheered on as heroes. Well, you tried, but those damn MAGA people, they keep putting a fly in the ointment. We'll give you another 2 years, another 4 years, another 6 years.
And honestly, I think there's probably a lot of them that don't want to pass some of this stuff because they do know how harmful it would be to this country.
Oh yeah, those are the ones that they're banking on the promise to hold on to the job.
Right. Even though they keep dangling the carrot and saying that they support that, behind the scenes, I will almost guarantee that they don't.
Well, those are your, you go with the way the wind blows. You promise, the dead fish that'll go with the stream. Until it's time to get eaten by the bear, then all of a sudden there's a little life in them and they swim to the other side of the river. They're not stupid. But what they do know, well, I should say what they think, is that the American people are stupid. That the American people don't, and sadly, and I hate to say it because this will probably cause me a little bit of flack from somewhere, but there's an awful lot of stupid people in the public.
Yes.
I hate to say it, but
don't go telling the truth now. Stop telling the truth. You got to stop that.
I know. Well, listen, if you watch my YouTube channel, you know damn well that I don't sugarcoat the facts. There's a lot of stupid people out there, and politicians take advantage of that.
Yep. I gotta go. I'm in my truck just waiting to drive, so I don't want to drive and stream at the same time.
Okay, well, be safe.
Okay. Right. I'll catch you guys next week.
You'll be around next week, Jeremy?
Yeah, I'm back.
All right, good. We're holding you to it.
Okay, I'll see you next week.
I stayed home for last night's meeting that you didn't show up to.
I'm sorry.
I could have spent the evening at the roller rink watching Lori go around in a circle, but instead I stayed in a steaming hot garage to wait for you to join our meeting.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Bye.
I'll send you my dry cleaning bill. Love you, buddy.
Okay, see you guys.
Have a good night.
Good night, everybody.
Night.
All right, now that Jeremy's gone, we can talk bad things about him. I love how when Jeremy picks up his phone to get into the conversation, and hey, everybody, how's it going? This is what you see when Jeremy picks up his phone. I try to be courteous enough to sit far enough away from the camera that you don't really get a good look at my face. And that's why I have the microphone strategically placed, right here. That's probably the best look for me, right there.
You're funny.
Beautiful.
Well, in news of today, I had the pleasure of visiting Cosent Arms in East Flat Rock, North Carolina. Got a call during SHOT Show from Dan Abraham, the firearm guy who has a YouTube channel of fantastic repute. He said he introduced me to this company. He said, "You got to check these guys out there in North Carolina. See about getting over there. Maybe doing some shooting with them or something like that." So I got up this morning at 5:30, got in the truck at 6:45, and I drove the 2 hours and 15 minutes out to East Flat Rock to go visit Cosent Firearms.
Nice.
And what a nice company that is. It's a small company, very limited production. What you order is what they produce. They don't produce what they haven't already taken an order for. Every gun is meticulously crafted, hand fitted, hand polished, beautiful works of art, some very nice innovations on these guns. And we were able to go to the range. However, I wasn't able to get my camera into the range because some of the policies of some of the ranges don't allow you to do any video work inside. Plus, it was very dark. It was very dungeon-like where we went to shoot today. But I have to say, I have not enjoyed shooting a 1911 pattern pistol more than what I did today with Cosent Arms. So if anybody's in the market for a very nicely made, high-end but still reasonably priced by comparison firearm, COSAINT arms.com, cosentarms.com. I'll be writing a full article with a video tour that we took. We actually got to get some film of them milling and machining the guns and all the different varieties they have. They have some really amazing innovations to the 1911 platform, and we're getting one.
Oh, there you go.
So we're kind of happy about that. We're going to have one of the very first Cosent Arms in for T&E that the internet has ever seen. So their new design platform, we will be the first people to review it. So we're super, super happy about that, especially considering the press release for this gun only came out 2 days ago.
Oh, sweet.
And we got it. We're getting it in-house. So yay us. So beautiful, beautiful guns. Greg Mooney, the gentleman who owns the company, if you know anything about the 1911 platform, you'll know that it was, John Moses Browning got his patent in 1911, hence why the gun is named 1911, and it's a 45 caliber semi-automatic, single action only pistol. Well, in 2011, a company came out and did the first major redesign for that gun, and they went from a single stack magazine for the 1911 to the very first double stack 1911. Now, the 1911s traditionally only had 7 rounds of 45 ammunition in it. By going to a double stack, this allowed them to pump up the capacity to 13 rounds or more if you had an extended magazine. The gentleman who spearheaded the design for the double stack 1911 at the company that introduced it, which I will refrain from naming the company, Greg Mooney, the gentleman who owns Cosent Firearms. He is the father of the double stack 1911. He is the following in the lines of John Moses Browning. He's the first guy to actually do a major redesign of the gun. He's responsible for it. Now he's producing some of the nicest double stack 1911s you'll ever see. And oddly enough, the one that we requested is a single stack. So, but it shares many of the same features as the double stack does. He has this amazing porting system on the gun that it makes the gun feel like it has zero recoil, even when firing 45. Shooting a 9mm at it feels like you're shooting an air gun. It's amazing.
Wow.
It's really amazing. But he's the father of that design. So that article will be written this week along with the video. So we're probably going to be putting the video up in our premium membership newsletter. So that'll be going out. And the article will also go in the premium membership newsletter until it goes into full swing a couple of weeks later. We want to give our premium membership viewers a little heads up on that. You'll have that coming your way. So
Sweet.
I'm just real excited. I got to shoot today. Yeah, it was 5 hours round trip, and I only shot for a half hour. But man, that was worth it.
That is sweet. And
I had a really good time today. The guy, Greg, who owns that company, he is a salt of the earth kind of guy. He, as somebody who ran a small business for 20 years, when you see somebody who puts their every effort into making their company successful, every single nut, bolt, screw, stroke of the broom to clean the floor, every single thing that you do is imperative to the success of your company. And when I see somebody who owns a small business that has a cot hidden in a back office so he can sleep there on weekends to make sure things are done right, that says, just volumes. It speaks volumes about the kind of character that somebody has and how dedicated they are to making things right. And that's this guy, Greg. So, like I said, anybody who wants to buy a good gun, I encourage you to check Cassant out. Great company.
Let me ask a separate thought, though, because all of our names came up on the screen, and it's been making me curious. Peter, what's that stand?
Don't. No.
And we just got banned.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out the words in there. I've got one or two that I'm like, maybe not.
I'll put it to you this way. Vass, you know me, okay?
Yeah.
I was the first person to figure that out. So that should help you with a couple of the words.
I can clean it up for the internet if you like.
Yeah, clean it up.
Yeah. What's the clean version?
I'm the mother father who gets stuff done.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm talking to Pete on the phone on the video phone with it. And he's got a T-shirt, ITMFWGSD, and he didn't say nothing about the shirt. Looking at it, and finally we get discussing it. It's like, oh, okay, I know what that means, and he has to explain it. Pete is literally the embodiment of that shirt. You talk about the small business owner that pays attention to every nut, bolt, screw, and sweep of the broom. That's Peter.
I'm sitting in my office right now.
all into himself.
Oh, great.
He lives in his own dungeon.
The moniker was given to me by a client many, many years ago, and it just kind of stuck through the construction industry that I'm the guy that when you have a problem, give me a call, and we'll figure it out.
That's what we need. We need more of that, not just in our small business. We need that in our government. They are so busy posturing.
No, it's.
We need that in our country. Period.
Well, yeah.
Across the board, we need it in our communities. We need it in our government. We need it in our businesses. I mean, it's very lacking all the way across the board. Very few people have that.
Well, I'm even to a point now of I don't care what industry you're in. I don't care who you work for. Everyone has the same complaint. Nobody listens anymore. No one converses anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody knows anymore. I mean, I remember, unfortunately, we're a bunch of old guys here, but you see these kids now, and in our day, it was, I don't know, but you know what? I'm going to find out. I'm going to figure it out for you, and I'm going to get it done.
Right.
The kids now is, I don't know. And that's it. There's no
Yeah.
follow-up. There's no incentive.
No, because
Well,
they're waiting for someone to tell
They
them.
have incentive in the paycheck, but they want extra incentive because to get paid is to show up. They just want to
Yeah.
show up to get paid.
Correct.
They don't actually want to work to earn the paycheck. They just want to show up because just showing up, getting out of bed, getting out of mom's basement, putting on a pair of clothes, on your clothes, and taking the bus, the train, the car, whatever to get to work. That's enough to justify the paycheck. Now, to
Correct.
actually do the work, you have to incentivize them. The
No,
incentive is you're going to get fired if you don't. That was our incentive growing up.
Right, Frank, but I think you're wrong on one aspect of this. And let me explain what I mean. It's yes, for the small portion of them, they want an extra motivation to actually complete the damn job, to get it
And
done.
those are the ones you always hear about.
Those are the ones you hear about, but the majority of them have been trained not to take another step. They're used to be given everything. They have been led by the leash in every step. And every time there's a challenge, someone else steps in. Oh, I have a college loan. Someone else will pay for it. Oh, I need to change I'm going to go to college. Mom and dad's going to pay for it. Oh, I don't know what's happening in the world. Someone's going to tell me what to think. They're in school. You're going to tell me what my emotions are. You're going to tell me what words I can use. You're going to tell me how I'm going to interact with people. They don't do any. They've been trained not to do. They've been trained to react. They've been trained to obey the commands that are given to them. They don't know what it is to go. When they say, I don't know, they're not just saying, I don't know what we're talking about, the subject matter. They're saying, I don't know what to do next. That's
And
our
I don't know
failure
how
right
to
now.
proceed further.
Yeah. They're literally saying, I'm stuck. I can't function anymore because no one's ever taught me how to function, be responsible, be accountable, be self-reliant. These are the things that we are losing in our society through these, quote, beneficial thoughts, the way we're going to make things safe for people. We're going to get rid of the microaggressions, change the words that you can use, and therefore the thoughts you can have. We're going to have the government step in and take care of every problem you've ever had as they micromanage every decision in your life, making you no more than a slave. And that is truly the terrifying part, because they don't even know it's happening. And if there's any young person out there who's watching this and you think I'm wrong, come on to the programs, leave a comment. You can send me an email, attack me all you want, and let's have that conversation. But my experience in going to colleges and talking to youth all across this nation and overseas, this is what we're doing. This is what society's creating. And I don't know how we move forward with that.
And honestly, okay, our education system used to be a system where they taught you how to teach yourself.
Yeah.
How to
Yeah.
find out the information. Okay. And that has changed to how to pass the test. Okay. How to memorize.
Yeah.
And that's literally, okay. They don't teach you how to think anymore. They don't teach how to research information, how to find out things. They teach you how to, they literally, it's like programming a computer. They program you to follow these specific steps. That's what Common Core was all about. That's what a lot of these programs is, No One Left Behind, No Child Left Behind, and so forth, were all designed to literally show them how to follow a script to arrive at a certain destination. And if you deviate away from that script in any way, shape, or form, you confuse the hell out of them.
Yeah.
Okay? And it's not their fault. It honestly isn't. It's not their fault. It's what they were literally conditioned with. And that's what they've been taught. That's what they've been programmed with. And they follow step one. do this. Step 2, do this. Step 3, do this. Step 4, do this. If you change any of those steps along the way, or you go outside of those steps, they get lost.
Well, listen, I'm not going to be so quick to alleviate them of their own personal responsibility. I know that people have been taught, they've been programmed, and all the rest of this stuff. Free will. At some point, your free will has got to kick in, and you've got to question things in this world. If you don't question things in this world, I am not going to give you the free pass and saying, well, that's what you were conditioned to think, so that's it.
Well,
because in the history of the world,
even along those lines, Frank, even along those lines, they are told exactly what to question and what not to
I
question.
understand that, but listen, this is not the first generation of humans that have been conditioned this way. In the entirety of human history, generations and generations of people have been programmed to be taught and to think a very certain way, in a lockstep way. That's why we had the Dark Ages. Then we had the Age of Enlightenment. Then we had every single phase of of world history where we have taken another step forward in civilization came from somebody breaking free of the lockstep mentality and questioning the world that they knew. Every single one of them did it. We wouldn't have revolutions in this world. We wouldn't have advancements in this world if it weren't for those people that understood that free thinking individuals are the ones that change the world. They're the ones that push the agenda. They're the ones that make the change. You don't get change from being from all carrying the same flag. It takes that one guy or that one girl to decide to go in the other direction and fly something else. Now, for years, everybody in the world thought the world was flat. Yeah. And for generations, everybody thought man couldn't fly. Man couldn't get to the moon. We could never communicate wirelessly. Everything. These are things that were ingrained in people from their birth. They were taught a certain way. Even if we look at religiosity, when a majority of the world population only practiced 3 or 4 different religions, it wasn't until people started to challenge it. Now we've got these people now, like I said, if these kids don't want to challenge and think for themselves, I'm not going to give them a free pass. At some point, where are your revolutionaries, young people? Where are your free thinkers? Where are your brave ones that are willing to ask the question of the system that teaches you? Which ones of you are going to break the mold that you've allowed to be your cocoon? Which one of you is going to break out and ask the questions? Because our generation did that.
Mm-hmm.
Our generation did that. And there were generations of people Now I'm not picking sides, but there were people that questioned what wars we should be in and what wars we shouldn't be in. There were people that were going against popular beliefs 25, 50, 100 years ago. But the young people today don't seem to have that wherewithal to take a step out of their own comfort zone and say, is this really the only way to think? Is this the only way to believe? Where are these kids that are brave? I can't give them a free pass and take the blame off their shoulders when the blame belongs to them as well as their parents, as the educational system, because it's their parents that also need to break free and start to question this and say, why did my child go away to college at 18 years old and they came from a Judeo-Christian conservative background, that now they're coming home with 14 piercings in their face, purple and green hair, and they can't identify what sex they are? What the hell?
Well, parents should be aware of, why is my 8, 9, 10-year-old child asking me about operations, chopping off their genitals forever? Why is my child having that conversation out of the blue?
Right. And they ask the kid, and they talk to the kid and then they talk to their friends and they talk to this, but they don't talk to the teacher. They don't go to the PTA. They don't go to the meetings. They don't go to the school board to say, why the hell is my kindergarten teacher influencing my 5-year-old child, trying to tell them it's okay for them to be something other than what God selected for them, or whatever deity you believe in, or Mother Nature, or whatever, X, Y, X, X, Y, whatever the hell you want to do. That's not their response. Where are the parents to step up? If parents aren't stepping up, then the kids aren't going to step up.
Anybody ever heard of the Strauss-Howe generational theory?
You broke up a little bit on your audio.
Has anybody ever heard of the Strauss-Howe generational theory?
Not offhand.
I know Levi Strauss.
Okay. Strauss-Howe generational theory believes that it's basically a theory that everything repeats pretty much every 80 years. Okay. And this 80 years can be broken down into 20-year periods called turnings. And right now we are in a fourth turning. I'm trying to find exactly what they call these turnings.
Well, are you talking about hard times produce strong men produce easy times, easy times produce weak men produce hard times?
Yes.
In a sense,
we are in the hard times section right now.
More than that. Okay. So there's basically a period of time where you go, right now, the 4 generations of this century are classified as baby boomers, Gen X, the millennials or Gen Y, and Gen Z. Okay. The baby boomers were part of the post-war generation and were born in a period of increased. Okay.
They're the manufacturers. They made the stuff in our country for the most part.
Yeah.
That's their generation.
I want to get, I'm still trying to find where this is.
No, Dow says it's the high, the awakening.
Before
Mike,
stages or turnings.
Well, okay. Dow's saying
here's the 4 turnings. It's the high, which follows crisis that ended the previous cycle. This period is typified by strong institutions and social collectivism and weak individualism. Then there's an awakening. This period is typified by increasing personal and spiritual autonomy of people. During this period, social institutions may be attacked, impeding public progress. Then there's an unraveling. This period is typified by weak institutions that are distrusted. During this period, individualism is strong and flourishing. And then there's a crisis. This is the era of destruction through war, where institutional life is destroyed. However, this period ends. As this period ends, institutions will be rebuilt. Society will rediscover benefits of being part of a collective, and the community purpose will take precedence again. Okay, and there's prophet generations, nomad generations, hero generations, and artist generations. Okay, prophet generations typically happen during the high. Nomad generations are during the awakening. Hero generations are during the unraveling, and artist generations are typically during the crisis.
Yeah. That sounds like
we are heading into crisis.
Yeah.
Right now we are in the crisis. Okay. The hero generation was 1982 through 2004, and that was the unraveling. That's culture wars, postmodernism, and so forth. Right now we are in the crisis, and we have Great Recession, War on Terror, and that type of stuff.
And Hollywood
Going
trying
on
to
now.
tell us what we should feel.
What's that?
And Hollywood trying to tell us, and our
Mhm.
more importantly, our kids, what they should think and feel, what they
Okay,
should
now
believe.
last cycle was the Great Power Cyclone. Okay, and it started off with Psi, the Reconstruction Gilded Age. Its awakening was the Missionary Awakening. Unraveling was World War I and Prohibition. And then the crisis was the Great Depression and World War II.
Well, that would make
Right
us
after
think.
World War II is when we started up with the high again. And that was when America became a superpower and so forth. Okay. And if you look at the period right after World War II, we were on this great high. Okay. And everything was rebuilding and so forth. And everybody is very pro-government, patriotic. All this, they're very institutionalized. Okay. And then we came to the awakening, and that was roughly the 60s and 70s. In the 80s.
That came, you had Korea that came in, and then you had Vietnam. Vietnam was and at the time, Vietnam, you had the social rights movements.
Yeah.
But basically from 61 to 81 was the consciousness revolution. And then from 82 to 2004, okay, which is a big part of this, that's where we started becoming more individualistic, more civic minded, more hero, so to speak. And then we went in, now we are in this crisis era.
Well, this is interesting. If we're in the crisis now, and guys, tell me what you
We're
think.
in crisis now.
Right. So let's assume that means what normally happens in that crisis is we have a major conflict, not just socially, but throughout the world, both in countries, in conflict of ideas. We currently see that because of what's happening with the proxy war in Ukraine, we now see that Russia has removed all of the nuclear armament deals, starts over. Essentially, Russia has said that they're willing to use a nuke at any time, anywhere. There is no deal that's going to stop them. We have North Korea just fired off an ICBM, again, the first one of 2023, which would have been able to reach anywhere in America. There is nowhere they're safe. 2 weeks before that, the same analysts have figured out
essentially
that
this
And did you see
this turning started roughly about 2005 is what they're saying. And each of these turnings of the crisis turnings always ends in a war. Okay.
well,
Back in starting at 1701 is where the high was around that led to the American Revolution.
Well, that's why I'm saying this sounds like, you've heard me talk about it before, my theory on 3 regional wars: Southeast Asia, Middle East, Europe, happening simultaneously, and America being basically challenged on all of those fronts as well as those regions, because of everything's coinciding together. And
we can't do all three.
You can't fight a war on 3 fronts.
Yeah.
No one fights a war on 3 fronts. Napoleon. Let's go back to Napoleon.
Right. You saw the news today, right? We're sending 200 troops to Taiwan.
Germany lost fighting a war on 2 fronts. So, I mean, you really can't do that.
Yeah, we're sending troops to Taiwan.
Yes.
Isn't it nice to know that the leader of China is the one who is coming out, now saying, "Hey, listen, instead of fighting this war between Russia and Ukraine, how about you guys maybe sit down and have a peace talk?" And where is Biden this whole time? Instead of saying, "All right, we're going to keep pumping you full of weapons and money and everything else," hey, why don't we guys sit down and talk this out? Why don't we try and figure it out? Why don't we try?
Did you see Ukraine's response?
They said no.
No, Ukraine's response today says, yes, we think that that's a very good idea. It's good that you brought that up.
Oh, I missed that.
Oh, yeah.
Because
about
the
an hour
last
before
time-
we went on air.
Okay, because the last time they were offered a peace talk, Ukraine said no.
Yeah, well,
yes, that's correct. They said no. And
it's-
now that China is doing it, this is a great idea. Why didn't anyone suggest this before?
yeah, well, it's nice to be able to say no when somebody else is fighting your fight for you, or at least giving you all the tools that you can fight. Because if you don't have the tools to fight, you're going to look for the peaceful way out. Now, I heard something very interesting the other day. I was thinking about it. I was listening to people debate about this thing, and they were saying, "Well, Russia keeps moving closer and closer to NATO, and with these invasions, he's going closer and closer and closer to NATO. So why wouldn't NATO push back on Russia?" Then I'm sitting there looking at the map, and I'm looking at all the countries that are actually part of NATO, and I'm looking at what the Russian expanse has been over the years. Russia hasn't been moving closer to NATO.
No,
NATO's been pushing closer to Russia.
Yes,
Right.
absolutely.
For many, many years.
And that's one of the big things Russia is having problems with.
Yeah, they're saying,
because
listen,
there used to be a region that was non-NATO or non-Russian.
All right, now for the people who don't quite understand that maybe the people the Trekkers, it's not Trekkies, it's Trekkers, the Trekkers. This will be analogous that you might be able to grasp when it comes to this. You got the neutral zone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You got the Federation on one side, and then you've got everybody else on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
If the neutral zone stays neutral, people can go into the neutral zone and have a little conversation and stuff like that, and it's a ceasefire. That's the way it is. But as soon as you start pushing the neutral zone and you start making incursions into the neutral zone, you're pushing the neutral zone into your not your enemy, but your adversary's position.
Mm-hmm.
That means that the neutral zone is now encroaching on the Klingon, Federation space. The Klingons are going to push back. So when you keep expanding NATO and looking to add countries to NATO, so you can increase your little, laundry fund, your financial laundry fund that American taxpayers are going to continue to pay 90% of, the Russians ain't going to like that very much. They're going to say you are now a growing power. Russia doesn't look at these countries as individual countries. It looks at them as a consortium, one big country. So when it sees a country that's now bigger and more powerful than them as it's all combined and looking to come closer, it's going to reach out and start taking some stuff for themselves. And that's what's happening over there. And when I'm watching footage of complete detachments of the Ukrainian troops, and they're all doing the straight arm salute, I'm kind of wondering whether or not we're all getting the full story from the media.
We aren't. We are absolutely not getting it.
Well, I know that. I have to say, yes, I meant Romulans. Yes, I know I meant Romulans.
Wasn't going to say it out loud.
All right, what's the Romulus?
So, going to pop this up.
Oh, I forgot the
Romulan.
Okay,
Romulus.
What's the Klingon homeworld? Stumping you. No, it's not Alderaan.
No, it's
that's a different franchise.
Who's coming up with Alderaan?
Kronos.
That's it.
Kronos. Kapla.
No, okay, you're better than me.
Okay, so I'm going to put up a map that shows the expansion of NATO.
Does it include Sweden and Norway?
No. This is up to 2020.
Okay.
Okay, so in 1949, all these dark navy blue countries were NATO. Okay. Now, this big country right here is Russia. In 1955, these darker blue, 1952, these darker blue countries were added. In 55, this country was added.
That's Poland.
In 82, Spain was added. In 90, the dark green country here was added. 99, you can see that there's 3 more countries added. 2004, even more countries were added. Okay. And if you watch, this is creeping closer and closer to Russia. Now, what they are wanting to do is add additional countries that are literally right on the border with Russia. Let's see if I can find a map of the Warsaw Pact.
Well, the fighting right now is for the Black Sea and the Pre-Baltics, which would give Russia wants access to the Black Sea, which gives them access to the Mediterranean again, and they want access to the Pre-Baltics, which would give them access to the North Sea again, which they need desperately. And these are the lands, so that would be Turkey, which they had strong ties with before World War II. And you're looking at Lithuania, Estonia, Latvia, which used to be part of the Soviet Union. So there is a cultural connection to them as well. The map is showing you why there's so much pressure right now and what is the argument that's coming out of Russia and Putin and has been for many years that no one talks about. They keep saying he has no reason to do what he's doing. And that's just not accurate. He does. He historically does have a reason for this.
Okay.
Doesn't mean he's right. Doesn't
Now,
mean
I'm going to show you. Okay. This is NATO and the Warsaw Pact. NATO is blue and the Warsaw Pact is red. Okay. Right here where my cursor is right now is Ukraine. And Ukraine's trying to become a part of NATO.
Yeah, pretty much strikes into the heart.
Okay, and that's really what this controversy is about, is NATO encroaching upon Russia.
Yeah, that's why Russia
lost GDR or West Germany or East Germany. I mean, not West Germany, East Germany. Poland is pretty much out of it now. Okay, and then you got Ukraine. So that's essentially what's going on with this. And Russia's saying, hey, you're getting too close. Keep your distance. When Turkey was admitted to NATO, that came very close to initiating a war itself.
Yeah. Also, why Turkey today is saying they don't want to add Sweden or anyone else into NATO,
right?
Because they know that's adding to the pressure, and one of the front lines is Turkey, and they're already fighting with Syria, which is also with Russia, and the Kurds. So they know they're already on front line. They're already fighting. This is only adding more of the pressure, and there is going to be a reaction. It's so scary that you can literally detail.
Actually, here's a better map. I'm going to show you this. This is actually a better map because it actually shows the countries.
You know, it's a scary thing. When we talk about this, there are a bunch of people who have been trained not to actually think about this, but because we've even mentioned these things, these historical facts, to understand the pressures that are leading us closer and closer to war, that there are people who will say, oh, then you just love Putin, you're evil and you're horrible and we can't listen to you. It's like, how can you fight a war, whether economic, proxy, social, however you want to fight it? How can you fight a war if you don't understand what's the problem? What are you fighting about? What is the war over? How can you get to a victory position or even a peace or a ceasefire if you don't understand the elements underlying the conflict in the first place? For everyone wants to say, oh, but that's just Putin talk. You're just loving Russia. You're evil. Stop and think for a second and go, if you don't know what they're fighting about, how do you stop them? Doesn't that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And
So
yet that's not what we hear.
Well, I just can't stand the fact that you if you come out and you say, listen, I really don't feel like funding somebody else's war. I don't feel like sending another $200 billion in aid and equipment and food and everything else to other countries when we've seen billions of dollars worth of equipment and supplies falling into the hands of terrorists around the world, that I don't trust the administration to do things the right way in trying to do this, that all of a sudden you're cheering for the enemy. It's like, no, it's like sometimes it's said, I don't have a dog in the fight. And I don't want my dogs in the fight. If this is their fight, let them fight it. If this is their fight, let them fight. I just don't want to see our blood and treasure go being spent when I know that so much of it is corrupt. I know so much of it is going to be mismanaged, mishandled, wind up in the wrong hands. Why do I have to be labeled as anything less than patriotic? Or, oh, you're a Russian co-conspirator. You're this, you're that. No, I just don't really feel like I want to give any more to a country that's unwilling to do for itself in the first place. The country, here's a fact. Ukrainian government denied their people the right to self-defense for a generation. And then when they got invaded, they needed their people to defend their own country. Well, I'm sorry. Maybe if that country believed in freedom, believed in self-preservation, believed that the citizens are the first line of defense in defending their own country, maybe they wouldn't have got invaded in the first place.
No. Here's something I want to point out, and Mike, can you show this? This is from Chuck Schumer on Twitter today from 12:30. And this is my response to him. I want to be very clear. So Chuck Schumer says, for those who are just listening, to honor their heroism and show our unwavering support for Ukraine's fight for freedom and democracy, Chuck Schumer was proud to lead the Senate in delivering $113 billion, 71% of the 2019 GDP of Ukraine in military, economic, and humanitarian aid. Now and for as long as it takes, the U.S. stands shoulder to shoulder with Ukraine. Stop for a second and read what he just said. We are paying for 71% of the GDP of Ukraine in 2019. And he wants to pay that as much and forever. He doesn't have any reason to stop. He is willing to fund an economic and proxy war, which is getting us closer and closer to having troops on the ground. I said to him, and my response was, what about the honor and obligation to unwaveringly protect citizens in Ohio? Remember, they're busy worried about Ukraine. You're not seeing the same kind of spending or commitment to Ohio and Americans on our soil. I go on to say, why is that priority secondary, or our homeless vets? Just to show there are many aspects in our nation that should be our priority that he's not talking about. He doesn't have unwavering support for. Going on, You support unending war, what he has just described, and he says it again, now and for as long as it takes. That is unending war. That is war that cannot and does not stop no matter what. And the cost is untold. He is willing to spend unlimited funding, your taxes, my taxes, our grandkids, our future generations for years to come, decades to come. He will spend that all day and night, not to feed the to house the homeless, to feed our kids who don't have good nutrition. He's not saying unlimited spending on anything except war that will never end. And ultimately, we have to ask a question that Chuck Schumer is not willing to say. There is zero benefit to America. What do we get for the next 2 years, next 5 years, next 10 years, next 10 years of fighting? This is a conflict that could last and probably will last a decade. And he said he will spend your taxes, your money as a priority on this war that we get nothing from, ahead of taking care of people who are being in very crisis and disasters in the United States. That is secondary to funding this war, and we will get nothing from it ever. The Ukraine doesn't have trade for us. They don't have equipment for us. We're not going to get any kind of special deal on fertilizer or wheat. We're not going to get any, we're not going to have a base there. We get nothing from this. And he will spend as much money and whatever it takes. He's saying whatever it takes. He's going to give them whatever it takes.
What if it takes American troops?
That's what I'm saying. And that means troops. He will spend troops, our sons and daughters.
Well, maybe it'll take 18 years. And the grandchild that he just welcomed into this world 2 weeks ago will have to go fight and die in the war that he wants to support endlessly.
It'll never happen.
And did anybody happen to catch Biden the other day? We were also supporting the pensions of the retired.
Yeah, I know.
Yes, I know.
That pisses me off.
American fucking citizens don't have money to buy a dozen eggs. How many Americans have had to cash in their 401ks, cancel it, not be able to contribute it, so they could survive living through the COVID shutdowns that the government imposed on everybody? That people are broke. They lost their homes. They lost their cars, lost their jobs, got bills up the friggin' wazoo, dealing with collection agencies every day in an economy that inflation is at 8, 9, 10, 11%. We don't have a pot to piss in. We're supporting the Ukrainian pension system so they can have something in their pocket. That's what this piece of shit said. So they can have something in their pocket. You know what I got in my pocket? $11 fucking dollars. That's what I got in my pocket. I got less than 4 digits in the bank. That's what I got left. Because I don't have money to fill, to survive through this thing. But I'm trying to figure out how to cut every corner I can friggin' cut. Where the hell is my pension money?
No.
I don't have much money anymore. We're supporting the Ukrainian pensions. What do they need pensions for? We're sending them food. Now, nobody in Ukraine has to buy anything since this war started. Everything is online. You go, you pick up your box, your food, you go about your thing. I don't understand who the hell is left. Didn't half the people in the Ukraine leave?
8 million.
Didn't they all leave? Aren't they all in NATO countries now? Aren't the NATO countries footing the bill for the welfare and care of all of these people that left Ukraine?
It costs a lot of money to live in these NATO countries.
Yep.
Well, let them foot the friggin' bill for it. Why are we funding their goddamn pensions?
Because this isn't
Peter,
their war.
Do you have a pension? Is somebody going to pay you when you retire?
No, only what I put away.
What you put away.
That's
Fast.
right.
You got a pension, you're going to get money? No, it's what you put away. Marshall, same thing. Me, same thing. I got no pension for me to get put away. Are the Ukrainians going to turn around and reimburse us and support all of us so we can, live
No.
nice, happy
They never
lives
can.
in our old
Not
age.
feasible.
Even if they wanted to, they can't. They don't. They're not a big enough economy. They can't. Even
no,
if they
they're-
tried.
Well, think about this: the money of their own that they don't have to spend because we are supporting their pensions. Their economy's probably doing better than ours.
Well,
'Cause
remember,
they're
their
not
economy.
spending their money to fight their war. They're spending our money to fight their war.
Well,
They're
remember,
not using their money to fund their pensions. They're using our money to fund their pensions, to
course.
run their schools, to run their food systems, to run their transportation system. They're using our money to do it. And then you get that crybaby piece of crap congressman with the Kitzinger, whatever that is, the guy who cries every time you mention Trump around him, that Republican. I forgot what the little crybaby.
Romney.
Not the other one. Adam Kinzinger.
Oh, him. Yeah.
He's trying to educate us on, well, we're only giving them old equipment that we were going to replace anyway.
M1 Abrams.
Really? So we're giving away. So we were going to replace it.
Well,
Why couldn't, instead of donating it to them, why couldn't we, if they were obsolete and we were going to replace them, I don't know, put a used tank sign on it and sell it to a friendly country, recoup some of our tax money from it,
I don't know.
sell it to sell them to friggin' Canada.
How
Send
about
them to Canada so Canada can aim it to the skies and shoot down their own fucking balloons.
Japan, South Korea, who
Yeah,
are
there's a market
being
for
attacked
our
right
used
now?
equipment. There's a
Taiwan.
market for our used equipment that we don't have to give it away. Oh, well, we were just going to give it away and have to buy new stuff anyway. Well, maybe if we recuperate some of our original investment, we could use that recoup money to help offset the expenditure from the American taxpayer to have to restock our military that, by the way, we're not restocking because Biden cut the military funding that Trump put in place.
Yeah.
So we're less armed now because even though our shit's older, it's all the shit we got, but we're giving it away to a country that's going to fall so Russia can take all our stuff. Kind of sounds like an Afghanistan runway to me.
Pretty much.
Don't worry, I'm sure the big guy's getting his 10%.
Yeah. It's upsetting when you actually think through what they are saying. When you stop with the cheer, cheer, cheer. He's saying it's so beautiful, bold, and brave that you say we're with Ukraine. Okay, stop and look and listen to what he said, like we just went over. And Pete, tell me if I'm wrong. Has anyone in the news media ever taken a tweet like that, took a statement that is being made right now, and actually said, wait a minute, this is what they said. This is the meaning of what they are offering. And as far as I know, no major news media will stop and think about what I have just said, what Chuck Schumer just said, and said, okay, and this real world is what he means. This is what it costs.
and no, of course they don't say it, but I'm going to take it a step further and say it's not their job to say it. And that's one of the problems now is the fact that media comes with an opinion. Remember, the news used to be the news, and it was up to people to actually. So, I mean, in this situation, they are doing what they're supposed to do. They're just saying, well, this is what he said, and walking away and no further comment. But unfortunately now, the citizens at large that used to question follow-up are not doing it. They're just taking it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's upsetting to me. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, back on the Russian deal, and this is why we really shouldn't be involved with it at all anyway, is Russia has some valid things on the Minsk agreements, okay? And Dahl brought it up earlier. There were some things happening in Ukraine that were in violation of the Minsk Accords that were signed in 2015. And Russia kept calling foul, calling foul, calling foul. And finally, Russia had enough and they went in on it. Okay. And that's not saying I support Russia's position or anything, but based upon the accords that were led and negotiated by France and Germany to end the war in 2015, that resulted in the loss of the Donbass Pass and the Donbass region. Ukraine was in violation of those accords. And as such, Russia, like I said, kept crying foul, kept crying foul. Nobody listened to them. So Russia took matters into its own hands.
Well, it was bound to happen. I mean, this is the sad thing is, and I did this the other day on my channel. I did a video and I actually looked back. Like, that's what I do. I look back and you can actually track from 2019 to 2023 all the elements. If you're looking, forget about all the rest of the world. If you just wanted to focus on the Biden-Harris administration and their actions in regard to Russia, and you can track it from 2019 to 2023, an increasing level of aggression at every year, step by step. There have been multiple actions that they have done that have increased the level of aggression and increased the influence of the United States putting pressure on Russia. Right or wrong, you may agree with it or not. That's a different thing. But it is documented, and we've been seeing it from 2019, which is an offshoot of what we saw under the Obama administration from 2014, of actions that are increasing and escalating the United States position, pushing us closer and closer to a regional conflict. No one should be surprised that this is happening right now. And everyone should be saying, why are we continuing to push even more? Why are we now, as Dal had mentioned, and I've mentioned, many of us mentioned, we are, like Frank was just mentioning, this is a scenario which is very similar to Afghanistan, 20 years of war. It's very much like Vietnam, exactly how we entered it. We now are giving them tanks that Ukraine cannot maintain, cannot properly run. They need advisors from the United States to go in to maintain that. Germany must send in this is why Germany didn't send in the Leopards first. They want the U.S. in first because we're committed now. We're locked in. And they sent in theirs. Why? Because they're going to have to send in troops, advisors to train people and maintain these weapons and go under fire. And when they get attacked, either at one of the munitions factories, one of the repair facilities, and they start getting attacked, well, we're going to have to send in more troops to protect our troops. This is Vietnam. This is Afghanistan. This is Syria. This is exactly what's happening around the world. This is the same scenario. And this is how we now get entrenched in a war. And literally, that war happening in Ukraine is a decades-long war. I don't care what the news media wants to report on any given day. This will last decades because it's been going on since before 2014. It's already been a decade. And so we're in decade roughly 2 of a conflict that started back in 2013, 2008, depending on how you want to count it.
It actually started in 2008.
Yeah, you can count all the way back. So, and now we are getting more and more entrenched. Economically, we are in a swamp. They have just promised us that we are in a vortex. We will never get out of this. And at some point, troops are getting closer and closer, and more will be committed. And we are being told, you cannot question that. You cannot understand that. You cannot discuss that, because if you do, you are unpatriotic, you are evil, and you're somehow some kind of Putin apologist, without saying, but wait, it's not my war. We have no benefit. Why am I going to do this? Why is that so un-American to say, wait a minute, you don't have the right to put us into a multi-decade war? especially when you don't talk to the American people and be
Because
honest about
we're in democracy.
it. You know, it feels so. I can't. When he says it's going to be now and for as long as it takes that America is going to be in this war, that doesn't sound very democratic to me. He didn't ask anyone in New York, "Hey, are you willing to be in this war and have inflation and have a global food shortage and sacrifice your kids for as long as it takes for the Ukraine, a place you can't find on a map?"
I wonder what Schumer was doing in 1967.
Probably stuffing daisies down the barrel of a Marine's gun.
It was probably high in a college somewhere.
Right. Saying
way-
we shouldn't,
by the way-
this is not our war. This is not our problem.
Yeah.
To anybody watching,
Gary Gnu.
20. God damn you!
Is graduating high school in 1967.
I was just about to offer a contest winner to somebody who could identify the only other man in media that I trust, other than Michael Vasquez, is
Hey,
this guy right here.
Well, ask people, do the same thing and ask them where's he from, what show he was on.
No, because now that they know his name, they could just Google his name. I needed somebody to be able to identify who this person is and why this is the only person in media that should ever be trusted,
Wow.
other than you. I'm talking about.
They don't know how to spell Gnu.
For those of you who don't know, this is Gary Gnu, because no GNUs is good GNUs with Gary Gnu.
That-
Now, the name of the show was The Great Space Coaster. Get on board on The Great Space Coaster. We'll explore. Come and ride a fantasy to a place where dreams fly fast and free. All right, now you know the show, Mike.
Yeah.
Let's belt out the theme song.
Oh,
This
God.
is a Gen X favorite.
The only thing running through my head is the new Zoo review. And we have lost like everyone under the age of like 45. They're all like, I have no idea what you guys are talking about. It's a Muppet. You know, is it Kermit? You know, that's all they're thinking right now.
This is current. I never knew that GNUs were green. I never knew that GNU was green until I saw him on the Great Space Coaster.
I loved him. He was great. He was funny.
All right, listen. We're gonna take a little bit of a break from the seriousness and get into something a little bit more personal.
No.
So I'm just because we keep up with everybody over here. We want to make sure that everybody is good and doing what they need to do. We'd like to have Jan come on for a few minutes this evening because
yes,
Jan has made incredible strides in her determination as a Second Amendment person, and is now made her trip to the range. So I'm going to drop the link in the chat for her.
Better than I am.
And we are going to see if Jan would like to come over and give us an update on her shooting experience. So, Jan, if you go to the link in the chat, you'll see it. And as soon as you click on it, we'll get you in the door. In the meantime, I'm going to say goodbye to Gary Gnu. I'm going to let him, get out of here as soon as I figure out how to get rid of the virtual background. There we go. There we go. Yeah. Now we're looking at my messy office again. Is that the right one? Am I in the right?
Click the button.
Yep, I got it in the right. I have 18 different chat windows open on my PC right now.
Click the button. Just click the button.
That's all. She's got to be there in a minute. She's got to go make sure she's in front of the right computer. She got to, tidy up and stuff like that. Actually, what she's probably doing is finding her target. She emailed us a copy of her target this week, so she has to close this site down. Come on, Jan, let's go.
That's why I got the black screen, so I don't have to worry about the tidying.
Yeah,
It's off the screen.
Marshall and I had a meeting last night, and I had to come broadcast from the
Hey, there she
my
is.
garage, and I brought my black screen down, but I have to turn the lights down behind it, otherwise you can see through it. Jan, good evening. Welcome for joining us. Thank you very much for being so patient as we explored the issues of the day and the happenings in Europe that we're paying for.
Well, I must say it was kind of interesting just being in chat again tonight.
Isn't it? It's painful. I'm sorry. When I was in chat, it was just, I can't type fast enough. I need to be in. I need to talk.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, why am I the only one being shown? What's going on here? There we go. There we go. That's better.
Well, that's
And the
what.
spotlight.
We just love you.
That's better.
That's
No,
what.
I don't like the spotlight. Come on.
Yeah, but we love you.
Yeah, but we have to do our journalistic duties and make sure that the results of your shooting are up.
Yeah. So as you guys know, I bought my gun towards the end, about the middle of December last year. Well, in January, by the time we got to go to the range, they had closed down temporarily. And they finally opened up about a week ago. And while we were there, I found out it was because the owners of the range part just haven't been having time to be over there. So one of the guys that worked there, one of the FFLs that worked there, they offered for him to take over the range. And so, like I said, he opened up about a week and a half ago. Now, the really cool thing about it, too, is every day they offer a discount of some sort now. So, like one day they'll offer a discount if you're a first responder. They do a senior citizen discount one day. They do a women's discount one day, and they do a couples discount one day. So I think that's really cool that they brought that into it. So yeah, what's on the screen? That's what I shot yesterday. Once I figured it out, I did 9 clips, which is 108 bullets.
No.
I shot.
Stop.
A little breathing.
Stop.
She said the C word.
You said a bad word.
She said the C word.
You said clip.
Oh.
Were you firing an M1 Garand?
No.
She said the C word.
Okay. Then your gun was equipped with a magazine.
Okay.
Magazine.
Don't flag anybody near front.
We're just breaking your balls. It's like one of those things that to my ear it's always like nails on a chalkboard. Every time I hear somebody say clip.
I'm still learning, so.
But no, listen. All right, so you threw about 100 rounds downrange. This is your first real shooting experience with the particular firearm that you got, and that's the Taurus. Which model did the three?
The
G3.
The G3C.
Yeah, G3C that you got there for yourself. Now that you fired it, how did you enjoy? I'm not asking you about how you shot. I'm not asking you about what your accuracy was, what your level of proficiency was. Did you enjoy the activity of shooting?
Overall, yes, I did. It was, I'd say the first magazine I went through, hesitancy. Had to learn a couple of things. But as I went through, I got more comfortable. The one thing I did notice is how sore your damn arms get.
How I'm sorry, say that again. What was that?
How sore your arms get. My biceps are so sore.
Well,
I could hardly lift my arms last night and this morning.
Well, listen, there's an exercise that when we talk about like training and conditioning and strength training and everything, take a light object. I'll give you, for instance, I have this extra microphone, weighs about 6 ounces. Okay. I could throw this 50, 60 feet. Woo, no big deal. Doesn't weigh anything in my hand. Hold it in your hand and extend your arm. That 6 ounces, after about 5 minutes, feels like 6 pounds. Then it feels like 60 pounds. And before you know it, the muscles in your arms are ripping from absolutely no weight at all. What you're experiencing is, your arms are in a position that they're not used to being in, getting a sensation that your arms are not used to feeling. So as you shoot more often, you'll find that you won't experience that. It'll be you're training your muscles to have what you call muscle memory. And the short I don't know who the hell just did that.
Had to show me, didn't you?
Yeah, you have two kinds of muscles in your body. You have slow twitch muscles and fast twitch muscles. Your slow twitch muscles are what hold. Your fast twitch muscles are what you use to move. You are using both kinds of muscle fibers in shooting. As you become more proficient, your pain threshold you'll feel like you're able to absorb more pain. It's not that you're absorbing more pain. You're conditioning your body to train your body to be able to build those muscles up. So as you shoot, don't go for, I'm going to put magazine after magazine after magazine through it. Put 1 or 2 magazines through it, take some time, rest a little bit, go through it again. Plus, you're also going through the process of load. You only have 2 magazines with that gun, I imagine. You have 3? All right. So you had to reload those magazines thrice in order to get through 100 rounds of ammunition. So your thumb is also probably a little sore.
No, I have a loader.
Oh, you got a loader. You cheated. All right. Well, then you probably have a little pain in your forearms from pushing the loader down to drop the magazines in. Again, these are all things your body's going to get used to.
Yeah.
But for a first time at the range, every one of those holes in that target is a critical injury. Every one of those is in the center mass area. So if you imagine somebody coming at you, you manage to put the threat away. So good.
Well, you notice I didn't try any headshots yet. I figured it was important to just start learning how to shoot and maybe learn to get a target first, even though, like you said, I was in the range, but I was all over the range.
Breathing.
I'm sorry I don't have it anymore, but Peter and I went to the range several years ago, and Peter was nice enough to draw me a smiley face and a target.
Yeah.
So
right. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And I do know that that comes with knowledge and practice, and with my age, I doubt that I'll ever be that efficient, but even I know I can get better.
Listen, your goal is not to win a competition.
Right.
Your goal is to win a fight.
Right.
That's your goal.
Right.
If you shoot the way you shot and you're able to do that consistently,
you've won.
You win the fight.
Yeah.
That's more valuable than any competition that you could ever try to go for marksmanship or anything else like that. Win the fight.
Right.
You don't need the gold. You don't need a gold medal. You need to win.
Right. When we were in one of the stores yesterday, getting some ammo, we saw this really cool setup for the backyard. My roommate's thinking about getting it for summer so we can start shooting more in the backyard. And then we'd like to have a little area where we can set up for train, because the gun range is almost an hour away. So not only are you talking about, the ammo expense and, the expense of the range and everything, but you're talking gas money too. So
if you're going to shoot outside, you're going to shoot on your property. I can make a couple recommendations to you. When you were at the range, did you notice the ejection pattern of your gun where the rounds were going? All right.
Yeah, they come off the right.
Right. They come out, but they're usually going to group in around the same area, so we go. So if you're going to shoot in your backyard and you want to recoup a little bit of your investment, get a tarp, and have the tarp behind you so that when you're letting your rounds go, you're able to collect the brass, because you could either get rid of the brass or trade it for other ammunition. There's a lot of people that reload it. The brass is valuable. You're not concerned about the brass, get steel case ammunition. It's less expensive, but then go get yourself a lawn sweeper. She could pick up the steel so you're not stepping on it or running over with your mower.
Okay.
You know, if you're going to shoot on your property, it's important to police your property. It's your investment.
Right.
You know, it's your investment to do that. So, you know, anything you can do to make your own shooting area safe, convenient, reliable, and clean. Those are the things that you want to do. And safety, number one. So always make sure that you know where your backdrop is, what's behind it. So, you know, make sure you have a good solid berm. And then there's nothing that could possibly, you know, cross paths if you're going to shoot. Make sure you set up a lane that nobody's going to possibly walk in through while you're shooting. You know, those are your number one priorities. If you're going to replicate range conditions at your house, the number one thing is range safety. So that's the only thing. And a lot of new shooters, they sometimes forego that, thinking, oh, well, you know, we're the only ones here. Well, you have to plan for the I don't knows.
Right, right. Well,
Let's-
hopefully we'll have something set up, and if you're still able to make it out this summer, you know, we've got it set up, and you'll be able to say, hey, do this instead of this, or I would suggest this.
I definitely plan on swinging through at some point, because I have to get back up to New York in the next couple of months. Unfortunately, I'm going to wind up having to have some surgery later on this year. That's going to wind up putting me out of the game for about 3 months. So I got to make trips before that happens, and then probably after. So at some point or another, we'll definitely get together. We'll throw some lead around. I'll bring some of my toys, and you can, you know, see what that's like.
That'll be fun. Well,
I will bring the Joe Biden high capacity clip.
I told my roommate on the way home last night, I was like, I can't wait to show the boys my progress.
We were very happy. And when you sent the picture last night, I was saying before, I was in my garage all night last night. And that's where Michael and I had a little meeting last night. And when you sent the pictures over, I was looking at them while in the garage. I had my garage door halfway up and halfway down so I could get a little cool breeze come through. And Lori came home, and she saw the picture, and she said, "Good for her." And she gave you a thumbs up. So she's proud of you too. You know, your target looks a little bit like hers, except she imagines it's me, and it's a lot in the head. So, but listen, you did.
And I apologize, Ann or Jan. I owe you something, and I just wasn't able to get to it this week.
Oh, well, I figured things happen. So, I mean, you know, when you get it to me, you get it to me, whether, you know, because I think right now it's a little too late.
Right.
You know, for you guys, if we wanted to set something up for you guys coming this year, you know, so just we got the next year to work on it. If they're willing to, you know, work with us.
Well, listen, it's 10:58. We're on now officially 1 hour and 58 minutes.
We started on time.
Yes, we started on time, and I think tonight we're actually going to wind up ending on time. So, you know, mostly because I'm exhausted. I've been up since 5 o'clock, 5:30, and I got 5 hours on the road on my ass today. So I'm freaking tired. So I got to go get some sleep. Jan, once again, thank you for being patient this evening and letting us have other couple people swinging it out. We're all very proud of you. You're serving as a fantastic example for the women who want to get into the shooting sports, that you can do it.
Oh, yeah.
It's nothing to be afraid of. You have one life. It's yours to protect, and we're glad that you're out there protecting yours. Vass, as always, thank you again. For the Dragon of the Southern Tier. Thank you so much, Mr. Soma. He's the MFer that gets shit done. That's what that means on the shirt. So we'll put that in. Petey, thank you. Mr. Marshall, my partner in crime, thank you so much for indulging us with the history this evening, Mr. Professor. And me, I'm going to sleep. So to everybody, good night. God bless you. We love you. Be safe, shoot straight. We'll catch you all here next week. Same bat time, same bat channel, and all the rest of that good shit. So I'm out of here. You guys can hang out if you want, but I can't stay here. Good night.
Night, Frank.
Night,
Good
Frank.
night.
All right, Frank.
Oh, and Dal. Don't think I forgot you, buddy.
Yeah, that's something else. It's
Okay.
amazing.
So, do we have anything else that we want to touch on before we close this down?
Yeah, we touched on a whole bunch.
Yeah, we covered a lot.
We do every week.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, you work hard,
Mm-hmm.
and it's coming to you. Said
Yeah.
it. I posted it. Congratulations to all.
Thank you.
It's
very
coming
much.
together. You ever
Mhm.
need a fourth face in these squares? I'll be here. You want me to
Okay.
shut up and stay out of the way? I will shut up and stay out of the way.
No, I love it. Love hearing the voices.
So, I want to remind everybody that our membership drive is ongoing right now, and for $15 a year, you become a member of the Liberty First Foundation, and that's going to grant you several privileges, and one of them being first access to a lot of our content. It's also going to give you exclusive access to some of our content, as well as being some of the first notified of updates and various things that the Liberty First Foundation is doing. As we grow with our membership and so forth, there are more things that we do have planned, and those will be announced as time goes on. Some of the things could be exclusive discounts to various manufacturers that are Second Amendment friendly, or even just other types of manufacturers that support what we are doing. And we're working on getting some exclusive discounts for our paid members. So again, as we grow, we are going to be doing exclusive giveaways. We're going to be doing a lot of stuff that's going to be exclusive just for our paid members. So I do encourage you to become a paid member and be some of the first to know about some of the news that is going on with Liberty First Foundation. And that's going to be about all I got to say on that tonight. I do want to ask everybody to like, share, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more of this content. We do encourage you. And if you support what we're doing and so forth, let other people know about it. That's the only way we can get our message out there in front of others, and we can spread this this idea of restoring the Constitution back to its original intent. And a lot of the issues that we face today, and a lot of the problems that we face today, is because government has exceeded its authority that was set forth in the Constitution, and we're trying to rectify that. With that, I want to thank everybody that watched. I want to thank everybody that has supported the Liberty First Foundation and those that are going to support the Liberty First Foundation. Without you, we wouldn't exist. So I do thank you all for everything that you've done for us. With that, I'm going to say good night, and we will see you next week. Every Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, we are here. Thank you, guys.